Let's talk about one of Hollywood's most famous faces. And what happened when it suddenly looked, well, different? When Jim Carrey showed up on a red carpet in Paris, it wasn't his suit that got everyone talking. No, it was a look that sent the internet into a complete frenzy and kicked off a really bizarre, really fascinating mystery. So this was the question that just blew up all over social media. Photos from the 2026 César Awards went viral, and you had thousands of comments all saying the same thing. He's unrecognizable. People were genuinely stumped. Was this really him, or were our eyes playing tricks on us? The debate kicked off almost immediately. And this right here, this is what started it all. On one side, you have the Jim Carrey we all remember from the 90s. You know, the guy with the rubber face from movies like The Mask. And on the other side, you have the man at the awards show with the look people were calling fuller and smoother. It was that huge visual difference that sent everyone down this rabbit hole of some pretty wild theories. And the biggest, most out there theory of them all was that the man in Paris wasn't actually Jim Carrey. Not at all. It was a super skilled impersonator. Now, that sounds totally nuts, right? But the evidence that started popping up was surprisingly convincing, and it all seemed to point to one specific person. And this is that person. Meet Alexis Stone, a drag artist who is absolutely famous for these mind-blowing celebrity transformations. Just as all this speculation was hitting its peak, Stone drops this on social media. The caption was so simple, so direct, and so vague. Alexis Stone as Jim Carrey in Paris. And for a ton of people, that was it. Case closed. They saw it as a full-on confession. And this is exactly why people were so sold on the idea. Along with that caption, Stone posted photos of a prosthetic mask, some fake teeth, and a wig, all just laid out right next to pictures from the award show. It was like a magician showing you how the trick was done. The internet was absolutely positive. It was all just a massive, elaborate prank. But just as quickly as that whole conspiracy theory took off, the official stories started to fight back. And this really elaborate theory, it started to fall apart. And here's the first huge crack in the whole impersonator idea. Carrey's own publicist, Marlia Leslie, put out this very direct, very clear statement. I mean, there's just no room for misinterpretation there. She confirmed to CNN that yes, it was Jim Carrey at the ceremony, accepting his award. The official story had officially entered the chat. And if that wasn't convincing enough, the general delegate for the César Awards added these details that make an impersonation seem, well, pretty much impossible. Think about it for a second. He spent months working on a speech in French, and he was there with his daughter, his grandson, and a dozen of his closest friends. I mean, could a look-alike really, truly fool his own family through an entire award show? It just seems highly, highly unlikely. Okay, so mystery solved, right? It was him. But that kind of brings us to a way more interesting question. Why? Why were so many of us, and yeah, I'll include myself here, so quick to believe it was a fake? What does that whole thing say about how we see celebrities? It really boils down to this fascinating psychological idea, the parasocial relationship. It's that one-sided feeling we get where we think we know a celebrity, We've watched their movies for decades, seen them in interviews, and we build this connection in our minds. We feel like we know what Jim Carrey is supposed to look like. And Carrey's whole history created the perfect storm for something like this to happen. The guy's a known prankster. I mean, who could forget that super bizarre existential experiment interview he gave back in 2017? On top of that, he's been pretty private lately, even talking seriously about retiring. So when he pops back up after years out of the spotlight, our brains are kind of wired to expect something weird. And this really is the heart of it all, because we don't see celebrities every single day. We don't see them age gradually, like our friends or our family. In our heads, they're often just frozen in time as the last character we saw them play. So when they show up again looking older or just different, it can feel like this really sudden, jarring change. This whole thing isn't really just about one actor. It opens up a much bigger conversation about appearance, about aging, and about the crazy amount of pressure public figures are under these days. Now look, whether Jim Carrey had any work done or not is just speculation, and honestly, that's not the point. The point is, the possibility of it fits right into this larger trend. This data from the American Society of Plastic Surgeons shows that the percentage of male patients getting cosmetic procedures is going up. It's a small increase, sure, but it's steady, and it shows a bigger shift in how we're all thinking about appearance. And we're actually seeing more and more male stars talk about it openly. I mean, you've got Joe Jonas becoming a brand ambassador for an injectable. You've got Simon Cowell admitting that he felt he went a bit too far with fillers. This is not just a conversation for female celebrities anymore. It's just part of the reality for anyone in the public eye. So all of this leaves us with a pretty tough question to chew on. In this age of Instagram filters and cosmetic fillers, our whole idea of what's real is changing. The Jim Carrey mystery, it wasn't really about an impersonator, was it? It was about our own relationship with time, with image, and with the stars we think we know so well. Maybe the most unrecognizable thing here wasn't his face at all, but our own shifting expectations of reality.